Time travel has always been something out of the realm of science fiction. Scientists have entertained the notion of time travel and whether or not it is possible for as long as we can remember. But it has always been generally agreed upon that, for the time being at least, it is not possible. We know through various aspects of the theory of relativity and gravity and its effects on the passage of time that we can slow down our aging relative to the Earth if we were to be in a different space with different gravity. But as far as the actual action of time travel is concerned, that is, getting into a time machine and turning back the sands of time, as far as that is concerned, it is currently not possible, and it might not be possible at all. And the reason for that is we just don't understand the laws of time travel, whether there are consequences to it, whether it would split the timeline into parallel universes. We do not know these things. And so, for the time being, it is impossible. But it is fun to entertain the notion of time travel, and that's what leads us to today's topic. A man going by the pseudonym of John Titor, who appeared on internet message boards around 20 years ago in 2000 and 2001. Now, it's important to note that this was during the time of the internet's infancy. As such, people were much less skeptical than they are today. And so it's easy to dismiss John Titor's claims of him being a time traveler as someone trying to troll people on the internet. Perhaps he was the original troll, but nonetheless, we will probably never know whether or not there was any legitimacy behind his existence, but it is nonetheless fun to explore what he said for the purposes of this video and your relaxation. So, let's dive into who he was, who he claimed to be, some of his predictions, and whether or not these predictions came true. So, John Titor was a pseudonym used on several internet message boards during 2000 and 2001 by a poster claiming to be an American military time traveler from the year 2036. He made numerous vague and specific predictions regarding calamitous events in 2004 and beyond, including a nuclear war. Of course, inconsistencies in his explanations, the uniform inaccuracy of his predictions, and a private investigator's findings all lead to the general impression that the entire episode was an elaborate hoax. There was an investigation in 2009 that concluded that John Titor was likely the creation of Larry Haber, a Florida entertainment lawyer, along with his brother Maury, a computer scientist. So that is where we stand on his legitimacy. Now, the first posts using John Titor's military symbol appeared on the Time Travel Institute forums on November 2nd, 2002, under the name Time Travel _0. At that time, the name John Titor was not being used. The posts discussed time travel in general. The first one being the 6 parts description of what a time machine would need to have to work, and responses to questions about how such a time machine would work. Early messages tended to be short. A second thread was also made due to shortcomings in the forum software at the time. The name John Titor was not introduced until January of 2001, when Time Travel _0 began posting at the Art Bell BBS forums, which required a pseudonym for every account. The Titor posts ended in late March of 2001. In his online postings, Titor claimed to be an American soldier from 2036 based in Tampa, Florida. He was assigned to a government time travel project and sent back to 1975 to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, which he said was needed to debug various legacy computer programs in 2036. A possible reference to the Unix year 2038 problem. The Unix year 2038 problem relates to representing time in many digital systems as the numbers of seconds passed since 0. The IBM 5100 runs the APL and basic programming languages. Titor said he had been selected for this mission specifically, given that his paternal grandfather was directly involved with the assembly and programming of the 5100. In support of this, he described unpublicized features of the 5100, leading to assumptions that a computer scientist was behind the postings. Titor claimed to be on a stopover in the year 2000 for personal reasons, to collect pictures lost in the future Civil War and to visit his family, of whom he spoke of often. Titor also said he had been for a few months trying to alert anyone that would listen about a threat of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease spread through beef products, and about the possibility of civil war within the United States. When questioned about them by an online subscriber, Titor also expressed an interest in mysteries such as UFOs, which he claimed remained unexplained in his time. Titor suggested that UFOs and extraterrestrials might be travelers from much further into the future than his own time, with superior time machines. Titor described his time machine on several occasions. In an early post, he described it as a stationary mass temporal displacement unit powered by 2 top spin dual positive singularities, producing a standard offset Tipler sinusoid. The earliest post was more explicit, saying it contained the following: 2 magnetic housing units for the dual micro singularities, an electron injection manifold to alter mass and gravity of the microsingularities, a cooling and X-ray venting system, gravity sensors, or a variable gravity lock, 4 main cesium clocks, and 3 main computer units. According to the posts, the device was installed in the rear of a 1966 Chevrolet Corvette convertible, and later mentioned in a 1987 truck having 4-wheel drive. Although invoking the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, which involves the multiverse, which is a hypothetical group of multiple universes, together consisting of everything that exists, the entirety of space, time, matter, energy, information, and the physical laws and constants that describe them, whereby events from his timeline may differ from our own. Titor also expressed assurance that the differences were minimal. So we can see here that, according to John Titor anyway, the multiverse is what would be the actual law of time travel, meaning that if you were to time travel into the past, that would no longer be your past. It would split off into an alternate timeline. So that does rise or give way to this notion of, even if his predictions were incorrect, is that because he was a troll on the internet? Or is it because of the multiverse theory? Of course, it's more likely that he was a troll, but it's so much more fun to consider that he maybe was an actual time traveler. But I digress. His descriptions have been interpreted as predictions and compared with historical events since 2001. The most immediate of Titor's predictions were of an upcoming civil war in the United States, having to do with order and rights. He described it as beginning in 2004 with civil unrest surrounding the presidential election of that year. This civil conflict that he characterized as having a Waco-type event every month that steadily got worse would be pretty much at everyone's doorstep and erupt by 2008. As a result of the war, the United States would split into 5 regions based on various factors and differing military objectives. The Civil War, according to Titor, would end in 2015 with a brief but intense World War III. And of course, as we know, this did not happen, but we do see parallels in the United States today, which begs the question of, is this merely coincidence, or is this a result of an alternate universe where this happens 20 years later rather than a couple years later from his prediction? We'll never really know. As a result, Titor references or refers to the exchange as N-Day. Washington, D.C. and Jacksonville, Florida are specifically mentioned as being hit. After the war, Omaha, Nebraska would be the new U.S. capital. Titor was vague as to the exact motivations and causes for World War III. At one point, he characterized the hostilities as being led by border clashes and overpopulation. He also pointed to the contemporary conflict between Arabs and Israel as not a cause, but rather a milestone that precedes a hypothetical World War III. John Titor claimed that as a 13-year-old in 2011, he joined the Fighting Diamondbacks, a shotgun infantry unit in Florida, for at least 4 years. In other posts, he described himself as hiding from the war. Titor claimed that the Everett Wheeler model of quantum physics, better known as the many worlds interpretation, was correct. According to Titor, it has caused a new time stream to form because of his time travel. This gives his predictions the ability to stand up to scrutiny when they fail to pass, since believers can say that the events were averted by Titor's posting. Now, it was very difficult for me to find his actual posts on the internet, given that it was over 20 years ago. But I was able to find some record of what he posted by looking through Reddit. So I will read some of it for you guys because I find it very fascinating. Let's begin. So this was posted by him on January 27th, 2001 at 12:45 p.m. Greetings. I am a time traveler from the year 2036. I am on my way home after getting an IBM 5100 computer system from the year 1975. My time machine is a stationary mass temporal displacement unit manufactured by General Electric. The unit is powered by two topspin dual positive singularities that produce a standard offset Tipler sinusoid. I will be happy to post pictures of the unit. Someone by the name of Mike responded to him a few hours later the next day at 3 p.m. Hi, as you are well aware, I am sure people can post anything here, whether or not it is true. What proof do you have that you have traveled through time? Rest assured that I want to believe you, but why should I believe? Thank you for indulging me. John Titor responds the same day at 9:15 p.m. I have been communicating online with others who are interested in time travel. Also, for more information, and he links to what I think is an article or perhaps a image that we probably will not have access to. Yeah, we won't be able to look at this, unfortunately, so we'll abstain. It might have been a picture, but then Kevin posts the next day at 3:23 a.m. Question. Just an obviously curious note. If you were returning from the 1970s to 2036, that's 66 years, and you are using a time travel machine, why on earth would you just perchance stop in 2001, let alone have a web page? Answer, welcome. I didn't know time travel had resting stops between scheduled trips. Hey, I'm not going to disbelieve on that basis, just curious. John Titor responds at 6:35 a.m. the same day. My initial flight was from 2036 to 1975, 61 years. I then went from 1975 to 2000, 25 years. Later this year, one of two favorable windows will open, and I will return to my 2036, which is 35 years. I am here now for personal reasons. The web page is not mine. I have been speaking online for about 3 months, and the page is a collection of the various documents and pictures I have sent to other individuals. Also, I realize there is no way for anyone to believe me with absolute certainty, so I hope I'm at least entertaining. You may be interested to know that even in 2036 there are a large number of people who who don't believe in time travel. Are you sure the world is round? Same day, January 28th, 2001, 7:33 p.m. Teresa posts, I read the Q&A on the link posted, and I found it to be very interesting, so it looks like it was a Q&A. Whether you are a time traveler or not is not relevant. This is a very probable scenario of what our future holds if things continue on their present course. Sometimes we need to step out of a situation in order to see it more clearly. A time traveler from the future seeing the events of the day helps in understanding the current social political trends. You hit it square on the head, in my opinion. I enjoyed reading it. Thanks. And I'm guessing she's referencing those events that he predicted, World War III, Civil War, and such. January 28th, 2001, 7:40 p.m. A few minutes later, Jarrett posts, Wink, John, can you please tell me some lotto numbers for 2036? I'll be ready to retire around that time, if I'm still alive. Thanks. And of course, it's important to note that this is 2001, right? So these conversations were happening by people who probably were in their 20s and 30s, who are now in their 50s, going on 60. Kevin posts at 2:45 a.m., January 29th. Unhappy. I visited your webpage, and it immediately struck me with those photos you claim to have put there are made available or believe in. Mind if I ask you something to clear my logical thinking mind? Why is it given that laser printers, etc., can print up to 2400 CPI, or at least 600 CPI, and pictures can be scanned at God only knows what? Why your text and graphics appear to be 1950s reproduction of a faint typewriter in need of a ribbon replacement? God, I haven't used the word ribbon since, And then, there's the fact that given the obvious typewriter appearance, the text sure wasn't made in 2036. Oh, please don't use the technology went by the board by then approach, because it won't stick. Please understand that I have examined time travel and parallel world theories extensively, and therefore only seek to clarify these points with you. John Titor posts, January 29, 2001, 7:47 a.m. Please keep in mind, the website is not mine, and I apologize for the poor quality of the files. The photo you saw was taken by me with a Polaroid camera, manufactured here. The other documents were duplicated by placing a book onto a copy machine at a packaging and shipping store, and then scanning and saving them. As for printing technology in 2036, you may be surprised at how many people use typewriters. However, I agree, the documents were probably not created that way. I too am very anxious to hear your thoughts and questions on time travel, gravity displacement, and any comments on the Everett Wheeler Graham model. And of course, as we know, by 2036, based on what we know today, there would have been smartphones or some sort of more advanced version of smartphones, the iPhone, etc. And as you know, he made no mention of it, and his pictures did not reflect that either. So it's more and more likely. I mean, I would say that I'm 99% sure this was a hoax, but it's still fun to read through these and entertain the fantasy of it being possible, because I'm a huge time travel nerd. Moving on. Lee Heggie on January 29th, 2001, 12:14 p.m. writes, 2036 sounds more like 1836 with all the good stuff of modern life thrown in. Personally, I prefer our current timeline, even with all of its excess and decadency. It's an exciting time to be alive, and I can still multiply and divide in my head. John Titor writes at 3:48 p.m., January 29. Although the documents posted were printed from a computer printer, it is really hard to believe that manual typing is just a bit more common. Is it really that hard to believe that manual typing is a bit more common in 30 years? After the war, many things like manual printing machines, bicycles, sailboats, and hand tools were valued a great deal. I have noticed many people in California are installing wood-burning stoves. I realize my claims are a bit ridiculous, but my intent is not really to be believed. However, if I had an opportunity to talk to a time traveler, I might ask questions like, how exactly does this singularity sensor measure the expansion of the inner event horizon? Or why does the reality of multiple worlds support the religious dogma that there are no good or bad people, just good and bad decisions? Or what were the political motivations that changed the U.S. Constitution? Mike, on January 29, 2001, 6:38 p.m., posts. Red face. Maybe this is an emoji or an emoticon. I'm not sure. Ho hum, another time traveler. Well, time to run him through the BS-o-meter. Did you ever notice how many time travelers never specify events that happen in the near future, as in a week to a month or so? The reason why is because then people would check on these events to determine if they have happened or not. Well, John, answer a few questions that any person from the future should know, or at least have easy access to. What was the final death count in the recent India earthquake? What is the ginger IT invention? Who wins the Stanley Cup in hockey this year? It's also interesting to see how the way people type on the internet has changed in the past 20 years. It's gone from very formal to, very informal. But of course, this is a forum for science and stuff, so it's going to be a lot more well written in general, but it is fun to see. Kimberly writes at 7:26 p.m., January 29, 2001. Angry. Super questions. This time traveler should have no trouble at all answering these questions, especially the ginger one. So get cracking, John. Kim. John Titor at 9:10 p.m., January 29th, writes, how do you figure I have early access? I can appreciate your skepticism, but I must admit I'm confused by your choice of questions. I fail to understand why a time traveler would be expected to know the details you ask right now. Right now, do any of you know the details of the first week in February for 1970? For that matter, could you tell me from memory if it rained in Atlanta last week? Is a sports almanac a required or expected piece of equipment for all-time mechanics of machines? At least you didn't ask the standard "what stock should I buy" question. Interesting that no one ever asks which stocks to sell. I'm sure my answers will be quite unsatisfying, but you should know I do not want your unshakable faith, nor do I think anyone should give it so easily if a time traveler were to be able to answer those questions. In fact, over this medium, it's impossible to prove I'm a time traveler, therefore it's impossible to believe. Actually, I depend on that a great deal, so that I don't have to worry about being picked up by your friendly law enforcement officers. What do you think they would do with two micro-singularities? So here goes, and he's answering their questions. What was the final death count in the recent India earthquake? I have no idea. What is the ginger IT invention? It looks like some sort of motorized scooter. What do you think it is? Who wins the Stanley Cup hockey this year? I know this one, but I think it would be unfair and immoral for anyone to win a bet based on something I've told them. And it is funny that, if I was time traveling from the year 2021, right, to the year 2001, I would be able to tell these people, hey, buy Amazon stock, buy Apple stock. In fact, put all your money in Amazon. That's all you need to do and you'll be rich. I would be able to tell them that, being from the future. And 2036 is still, 15 years away? 31, 3, 4, 5, yeah, it's 15 years away. So, you would think that he would be able to give them some sort of vague hint. I'm sure it would be unfair, and this is by Stephen, on January 29th, 2001 at 10:16 p.m. I'm sure it would be unfair and immoral if we had certainty, but the truth is anyone placing a bet on your answer would still be gambling on whether you are in fact from the future. Spill the beans. Then Kevin posts at 4:57 a.m. on January 30th. Wow, these people are early birds, huh? Talking. I can understand the ethics at hand here quite well. If you know, for instance, that someone is going to have a fatal accident or meet with an unpleasant incident at a specific time, would you tell them the specifics? I wouldn't. If you knew when Microsoft was going to break, or where the next and largest ever earthquake was to hit, would you tell them? There is a matter of ethics indeed. Who want to force life changes that are not natural to their path? Paths which intermingle with all other life, indeed creation, played out on this earth. No, indeed you wouldn't. Yet, if a person already knew as I do, they are in the history books as I am, but not known widely or available within the community yet, there is a simple challenge. And no, I am not talking from an egotistical sense, just one of knowing. However, whether time travelers wish to demonstrate based on the above is up to them. I would certainly be forthright in my confirmation to them. Private email is allowed given the circumstances. But, gentlemen and ladies, it also seems that certain time travelers traverse linear time, whereas others appear to travel across dimensionally. Interesting and one worth discussion. I personally challenge time travelers to demonstrate their proof by confirming to me what is already known to me as per my own history, but not yet in public circulation. And I should add, given that scenario, you cannot bend or manipulate my future path because you would not be telling me anything I did not already know. Fun, eh? John Titor on January 30th, 6:21 a.m. writes, to the moderators, I apologize for the links. I understand and it won't happen again. I'll be happy to submit the same material if there's a place to post it here. In my experience, when it becomes necessary to convince someone what I do for a living, the only way to do that is to be related to them. Everything else is immediately written off as a parlor trick, even if they're standing in front of a cooling distortion unit and I show them a dollar bill with the year 2029 written on it. In the last few months, I have had numerous extended conversations online, and there are quite a few things I've said which can be easily checked out, but haven't. I get no pleasure out of being right when it comes to CJD disease, war in the Middle East, or suffering people in faraway lands. There's nothing like the look on someone's face when you tell them 100,000 people will be dead tomorrow. In my travels, I have discovered that most people really don't want to know about the future because if it's different than what they want, it ticks them off. Actually, I don't blame them. The means by which I travel in time is very physical. I require a machine to do it. It weighs about 500 pounds and gets quite hot. I do not own it and I do not build it. Within limits, I will be happy to discuss how it works and how future science thinks time works. No, we have not yet completed string theory yet, but n-10 seems to work pretty well. As far as the future girl goes, your world line is about 2.5% different than mine. This is a roughly cumulative measurement based on my arrival in 1975. As far as I can tell right now, you are headed toward the same events I would call my history in 2036. However, the very nature of time travel states that every world line is unique, and you are very much in control of what you do and how you get there. Heck, the fact that I'm here makes it different from mine. I have nothing to sell, and there's nothing I want anyone to do. For all other time travels out there, I have no tests for you, and I would enjoy discussing your feelings and experiences after the war. To everyone else, while I'm here, I am very interested in your philosophy, religious outlooks, and speculations on technology. Kevin at 12:36 p.m. on January 30th, 2001 writes, Wink. The war. Now that's interesting. Is it worth mentioning the visions I observed in this or similar respect? Now, as to answering my previous post, I simply placed a task there that, if done, would not alter my timeline, but for sure answer one thing. I believe in the reality of alien technology, as I was one of the several verifiable people to observe the same occurrence. I believe in astral spiritual travel as a person who has done so and spoken to others of at the same time. I believe in the potential of time travel, but have not received anything that would make me properly convinced yet. But then, perchance, I missed some other posts prior to this BBS. You tell of war and your desire to study the inhabitants of this timeline prior to the war. Is the general population more interested in a mind-baffling time travel technology or the events and observances of a time traveler? A bit of both, perhaps? Care to shed some light on your view on the war, and why is it that technology appears to have gone or become the exclusive property of the controlling authorities? Interesting. I note also the American Computer Corporation announcing an alternative storage processing system 12,000 times faster than current systems, apparently by non-human intelligence. Now, as a technician, that is interesting, but of the apparent 3,000 the director sent out, wonder if there's one left for a genuine techo to study. John Titor posts on January 30th, 2001 at 2:09 p.m. And this will be the last post that we read, because this actually goes on for another month. There is literally a month's worth of messages of back and forth. It's quite long, and we could be here for another hour reading it. So I will save that second half for another video if you guys enjoyed this. He writes, sometimes I imagine what it would be like to approach the Wright brothers in 1910 before their first flight and make the suggestion that in a mere 30 years man would be on the brink of flying through the air at the speed of sound. What tools would I be able to show them that would convince them? Would a picture of a jet airplane do? Would complicated math and physics equations do it? Would it take a ride? Perhaps there will be a way to share the photos again, but I don't expect it would convince anyone. I would only hope they would spark conversation and make the reality of time travel a little more personal. Although I have no personal experience with non-mechanical time travel, I cannot discount it. Physics has a way of making the impossible a reality. I am not here to study anyone. My objective was in 1975, and the reason I'm here now is for my family. I find my preconceptions of what I would encounter interesting. Being exposed to a society through its art, music, and advertising is one thing, and experiencing it is another. I'm not sure the physics of time travel is really that hard to grasp. Most of the working theory has been around on a large scale since 1970, and the technical breakthroughs are happening on your world line right now. Technology is not gone in 2036, nor is it the private domain of government leaders. Computer printers just didn't work very well on 12 volts, and many people just got used to doing things the old way. After the war, the main problem was distribution. Can anyone tell me how many companies in the United States still manufacture bicycle tires today? Anyone who still has a bike in 2008 will find out. And that is all we'll read today. We will stop on January 30th, 2001, 7:58 p.m. Mike will respond, and we will continue this in another video. But I would like to know what you guys think about John Titor. Do you think that this was a real time traveler, Or do you think it was just a troll on the internet trying to have some fun with people? I would love to know what you guys think. And let me know if you want a part 2 to this video where we read the rest of the messages on the message board. But until then, my friends, I hope you enjoy this longer video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye for now.